Hey guys, okay, how you doing? It's Sam here, back with habit number 5. This one is all about when you should eat. Now, this is probably the most important habit that I'm going to go through with you in these sequences of habits, alright? Because here's the thing, if you're not nailing this habit, then none of the other habits really will make much difference, alright? So, just going to go through this question with you first, guys. And what are you when you eat? Now, let me just say this to you. It's not a case of what you eat. It's more how you were when you ate it, okay? So it's not a case of what you eat so much. It's more a case of how you were when you ate it. So by that I mean, were you stressed or not when you ate that meal? How were you feeling? Were you feeling anxious? What environment were you in? Who were you with? How are you feeling? All these things come into play, guys, yeah, when we're thinking about this question, all right, guys? Because here's the thing, guys. If you're stressed, anxious when you're eating or when you're consuming food, doesn't really matter what the quality of food is, yeah? If you're always stressed out, anxious, then you're never really going to be extracting the nutrients that you want from your food. So let me just delve a little bit deeper with that, guys, yeah? So we've got two parts to our central nervous system. We've got the sympathetic branch and the parasympathetic branch. Now, every time the brain senses threat, danger, risk, the sympathetic part of your central nervous system will kick in. All right, that can be a stressful thought. So whether you're thinking stressful, anxious thoughts, the sympathetic part of your central nervous system will be kicking in more. All right, and we've got the second part of this, the nervous system, which is the parasympathetic branch. Now, this is responsible for rest and digest and recovery. Problem with these days is most people are spending too much time in sympathetic, so they're always kind of like ready to face danger, risk, threat. So back in the day when we were being chased by saber-toothed tigers, we had to either run for our life as fast as we can, or we had to fight for our life. So things like accelerated heartbeat and a secretion of adrenaline, are really, really important, yeah, because we're getting ready to fight for your life or flee for your life. But obviously these days, our body can't differentiate between getting stressed out about the mortgage, getting annoyed with our partners, getting frustrated with our kids. Can't differentiate between that and saber-toothed tiger hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So the body will deal with it in the same way, So what happens is we're spending too much time in sympathetic in the sympathetic branch of our nervous system, and not enough time in this parasympathetic branch of our central nervous system. And that is when we are resting, we're digesting. That's when the body is recuperating, regenerating in this branch of our nervous system. All right, so here's the thing, yeah. What happens? We've just spoken about this. What happens if I'm always in sympathetic? Well, here's what happens: is your body doesn't, or you don't really extract the nutrients very well from your food. So you can be eating the best organic food, the best quality nutrients in the world. If you're really stressed out when you're eating it, it doesn't really make much difference. Make sense? Also, your liver doesn't produce enough bile, so it kind of makes sense, right? Because if you're about to run for your life or fight for your life, you don't want to be digesting food, right? You want that energy readily available for like a maximum endurance or whatever it is. So it kind of makes sense. So what happens? If you're spending too much time in the sympathetic branch, you're not going to give the body the right recovery that it needs. All right, so what can we do? So here's a general rule, okay? It's fairly general. Just don't eat if you're stressed. All right, because here's what happens, guys. Yeah, the body's pretty amazing. Yeah, like we said before, when the body senses threat, danger, risk, then obviously the stress hormone cortisol is released. And stress hormone cortisol, it helps design. It's designed to kind of like flood energy into our bloodstream. So it floods sugar into our bloodstream, which makes sense. We need that energy readily available. But it's also designed to increase appetite as well, because obviously if you think you're about to undergo a stressful situation, then it wants you to get nutrients on quickly. All right, so an appetite increase is common when you're stressed. So sometimes that's when you're more likely to reach for the carbohydrates when you're stressed. Things like the sweet stuff. The things that are pushing you perhaps further away from your goal. So when you're stressed, from a physiological perspective, you're more likely to be reaching for the wrong in inverted commas foods. The second thing, sit down and take your time to eat meals. Now, I'm pretty guilty of this, especially at lunchtime. I'll have a healthy meal, but I'll have the laptop in front of me, or I'll have my tablet on next to me. And here's the thing, guys: your mind's not actually on eating, so you're kind of like looking at other things. You've got distractions like TV, laptops, mobiles, and you're not really present at any point. So take your time when you're eating meals, like the in the Mediterranean. They've obviously, a lot of people say Mediterranean are really on the continent, they're really healthy, and they are, and they do eat a slightly different diet to us over here, but a lot of it is responsible for is the culture is where they sit down around meal time, spend a long time, like social interaction with the family. It's a big kind of like a occasion, and that's great from a food perspective, because you're allowing time, you're sitting down, you're with people that you enjoy, you're sitting down for quite a long time afterwards, so you're allowing time for your food to digest, and that's a good thing, because you're not just eating on the go. So the third thing we pretty much covered there: reduce distractions, like your TV. Sometimes it's common to sit down and have your food in front of the TV. Again, you're not present. Your mind's on what's going on the TV, or your mind's going on what's going on with your mobile, and the tendency is not to chew your food so much. And again, you're stimulating your fight and flight mode, so you're kind of always in this fight and flight mode, the sympathetic part of your nervous system. So that's habit 5, guys. Hope that makes sense. So here's what I want you to focus on for this week. Don't eat when you're stressed. See how you go with that, guys. Okay, so, and then let me know how you go with it. All right, this has been Sam Wickworth from samwickworth.com. Peace out.